Welcome to Medroom Chronicles. Join nurses and other care providers as they let you in on discussions usually reserved for the privacy of the locked medication room. In this weekly nursing podcast, the filters come off and we tell it like it is. Your hosts, nurses Adrianne and Andrew Craig, are here to educate and entertain on all things in the nursing world. This podcast is intended for nursing students, nurses, nursing assistants, and other care providers. Non-medical folk will probably get a kick out of us too. If you like what you hear, subscribe and share. Happy nursing, folks. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Adrianne again, and if you were with us last week, you'll remember that I was talking to Andrew and kind of left you with a cliffhanger. Andrew was talking about TravelCon, which he went to a few weeks ago, and he was about to talk about what he wanted to ask Z-Dog at the convention that he just didn't get the opportunity to. So close to greatness, and yet so far. So yeah, let's jump right back into that conversation, and plenty more to come.
And if I had the chance, I would have asked him essentially, what can we do on an individual level to promote human relationships and the connection with our patients, or the whole idea of healthcare 3.0? Because all in all, it's all well and good. I understand it. I think it's a great idea. But on an individual level in the current practice, it's hard to implement some of that.
Sometimes. Right, like how do I fit in is the question.
Right. So for the introverts, I think it's important to maybe have some conversation points or some starter topics ahead of time. So that way you don't go up to them and be like, hi, my name is Andrew.
And you just fangirl all over them. You're like, I love your videos.
I love you. I love you. Yeah, because you can get a little creepy really quickly. And I've had moments where I'm like,
I've done that.
Yeah. So something like that. At the same time, I have been very quiet and introverted in the past. And I think going to something like this could be beneficial to a person to get out of their shell, to grow. So there's going to be some uncomfortability that they're going to experience that you really can't prepare for. It's just you're going to have to learn to cope with the stress of being around a lot of things going on at the same time.
I struggle with that. There are these YouTube channels that I've been watching for like years, and I've watched them go from these like tiny little productions of like people with like semi-okay quality cameras, you know, and now they've grown into these like professionally produced channels that actually have like studios and like are backed by YouTube, and like it's just interesting to me to see that people can take, or even podcasts. I mean, I don't want to start dropping names of like famous nurses, but there are so many of them that I've been following. Like I've been listening, you know, I listened to their podcast before their podcast before their podcast. And so it's interesting to see that these people have found their niche. And a lot of these people I started following in nursing school. I have very specific videos and episodes that I remember from these people that I took this information on as my own and was like, this is useful information. I'm going to use it every day that I possibly can. And so, I mean, I think I've lost my point, but I guess the point is, that Z-Dog, I think, you know, he started out just, I don't know if he started with the parody videos, but he started with something that was silly but helpful, and that caught attention. And now he's like a platform for change and is actually like a major influencer. And the fact that at one point when I was in nursing school, okay, I've been out of school for just over a year. When I started my 2-year program, none of us knew who Z-Dog was, like none of us. And, you know, they showed us his videos and we were like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, these are great. And then, you know, we started paying more attention to other videos that he put out. And then when I realized that he was actually like podcasting and like making these videos, now everybody that I know knows who he is. And so in just that short period of time, you know, it's changed into something that's actually a force for education as well. So I don't know what I was getting at. But at conferences, sorry, this is what happens when we record at, 1:00 in the morning, without show notes. If I had show notes, I could keep us on task, but really this is just a stream of constant constant pure thought.
But I think, don't you think people, they don't really give a shit. They just like hearing us talk. They like to hear the.
I sure hope so. I think
so.
But yeah,
I think. I think show notes are good. But I think at the same time, we can keep it flowing.
This is real life, folks.
This is super real life.
Yeah, but I want to pull back to the conference topic of things. I think that conferences are, I kind of was playing devil's advocate with that question of like, what do us introverts do? But also, I think it's important to note that people that are at these conferences, they're not at these conferences to be like isolated curmudgeons. Like they're there because they have a lot of the same goals in mind, I imagine. So even though you were the only vlogger there, would you say that, people kind of had the same spirit of exchange that you did?
I don't know the answer to that. Are you talking about the people that came, the non-vendors, just like the travel nurses?
Yeah. Do you feel like people were eager to like get into conversations with nurses they had never met before? Or
heck yes. There was so many side conversations because in between the aisles of booths, there was also lots of tables. We each had a breakfast, lunch, and I think there was some snacks. So people were constantly meeting each other. And there was a lot of that, just making new friends. There's groups that are devoted to the conference. And so you just see, and there was even an app that I didn't use because I thought it was, the app was okay. The Facebook groups are better.
Yeah, the conference I went to.
You see this just selfie. Look who I'm at. This is, tag me in this picture. Just, I made probably 25 friends on Facebook just from the conference, and
that's cool.
Subscribers and et cetera, et cetera.
I had a very different experience at the conference I went to because, like I said, I went to classes partially because they paid a lot of money for those classes, but also as a new nurse, I was trying to learn. I had only been a nurse for 3 months when I went to this conference. So I feel very blessed that I got to go, but I was very much in a passive, observational state, that I would love to go to another one with the spirit of what you're talking about, where it's more like a party with 1,000 friends you've never met before, where you all just kind of want to get to know each other and hook up on social media. And that I didn't get the first time.
I can't speak for other conferences or other nursing communities, but the travel nurse community is a special breed of person, I think.
Well, you're all very adventurous to begin with.
Exactly. And so we approach this conference with that spirit in mind, and we go to meet new people, to have new experiences, to have adventures. So it doesn't take us long to get in the swing of things.
Yeah, I guess
and just have friends and go a part of new groups. I'm sure there's going to be some introverts, but I think the travel nurse community is special in that sense.
That you guys are already accustomed to walking into some place where no one.
And then when you get all 1,600 of us in the same room, it's like, holy shit, this is like a family reunion.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you got to go next year.
Yeah, maybe I will.
There's even CEUs. I mean, you're all about the education. I mean, you're going to get CEUs.
I am. Yeah.
I mean, you might have to spend $600-700 for your CEUs, but hey, I mean, you'll get other stuff too. The swag.
The funny thing is as a new nurse, I was so gung-ho about CEUs that I'm only 14 months in. You get 3 years your first time around, and then after that it's every 2 years. But I have 75% of my CEUs done, and I got 2 more years.
Right.
So, and I get CEUs for being in school for my bachelor's. So that might take care of the rest. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I've been in school most of the time that I've been how should I say? I've done so much school in this time period that I've been a licensed RN, and you get so many CEUs. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's covered. Every state's a little different. I'm not even sure what's Minnesota's requirements. I think it's 36 for 3 years or something, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something else they're going to say about the conference, but I can't remember. On a side note, my ear is doing something really weird right now. I think it's starting to unplug a little bit because of the antibiotics. So things are starting to drain, or something's happening with it, and so that's good.
All right.
It's a little weird.
I've had ear infections for most of my childhood, and they're fucking horrible. And I didn't have them for years, and then I had one this past winter and one the winter before, and both times they were so intense that I woke up that morning and was like bolt upright in bed and was like, I'm going to the doctor now. And I would go in and the doctor would be like, you are flaming red in there. So I feel like when I get an ear infection, it's like it takes over so much of my head that I'm like, I cannot think straight. I'm going now. Like, I think that last time, I think I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't put on a bra. It was winter. I put on some fake Uggs, a hoodie, 3 hats, and was out the door. I was like, fuck this shit. So I empathize. Double ear infections, I would want to crawl out of my own head. That's terrible. I'm sorry.
They're actually not painful. I didn't even know I had ear infections.
Because when I get them, I feel like I'm being ice picked in the eardrum, basically.
Oh, I see. That sucks ass a lot.
So good. I'm glad you don't have a ton of pain.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, my pain is in the sides and my face a little bit, but
my pain is in your face too.
Is it?
Just kidding.
Stop making me laugh, damn it.
Sorry.
It hurts. Oh fuck, I was gonna say something really cool about the conference, but I forget.
I'm sorry.
Keep it coming. Keep it. What other questions you got about the conference?
So really, what do you now that you've been home from the conference for a while and you've had a chance to kind of like mull over the experience? It's a 2-part question. The first part is, how do you think that not just the networking, but just everything overall, how do you think this is going to affect your practice? And not necessarily practice, but how do you think this affects you as a nurse, whether it be a YouTuber or a bedside nurse? How does it affect your practice? And also the second part to that is, what do you think, what are your goals for the next one? So yeah. A long way to ask that question. So how do you think this applies to your practice, and what do you anticipate with the next one?
What do I anticipate in the next conference?
Yes. Like if you were to go back and do this all again, are there things that you would absolutely do the same? Are there things you would do differently? And that's just a wide open question. I'm going to leave that open to interpretation.
Yes, I have lots to add as far as that goes. How do I think the Travel Nurse Conference will affect my practice? Truthfully, not a lot, because I didn't get anything from it that would really affect my practice, except talk about Health 3.0 was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree, and he's so right that we emphasize our bullshit technologies and EMR systems. It's taking away from our patient time because of our massive documentation burden.
Mm-hmm.
And all that time, is it really, really, truly improving patient care? Or is it some BS government requirement that facilities have to have it? I don't know. So that's the thing, is the ZDog talk about Health 3.0 was very powerful. And I've been thinking about that a lot. How can I reconnect with my patients and try to balance what's important, the real work of connecting with our patients and patient care and improving their outcomes with this hospital bureaucracy and documentation standards and press Ganey scores and HCAPs. It's
my God. Let me just tell you, as we've been sitting here, I got an email for the 2017 Employee Safety Culture Survey from Press Ganey. So I'll be taking that. It's like it's a survey for employees. It's a Press Ganey survey for hospital employees.
Is it anonymous?
Yes, although it's going to be coming through my email. Like, yeah, please use this unique link. Do not forward this link.
Those people don't give a shit about what nurses think about their stupid scores.
So tell you what, I'm going to save this. We should take this survey. We should do it later on air, not necessarily tonight, but I'll save that.
Okay.
And we'll have to go through it and take the Press Ganey survey.
Listen, EMRs are a beautiful technology.
Yes, they are in many ways.
They improve patient safety. One thing that comes to mind immediately is handwriting versus electronic. Mm-hmm. That is one very simple function of EMR systems. However, it's like because we can make these bloated, they're making them bloated. Because we can add more and more and more and more to the documentation requirements that we have to do to cover our ass. I hate that terminology, cover our ass. That we live in a society, in a healthcare system, that we have to document the shit out of everything to cover our ass because it's a legality, takes away from connecting with our patients. And that's what I thought about Z-Dog's Health 3.0. It's like, you're on to something, man. And do I think that Z-Dog is going to change anything overall big time? Maybe. You know, he opened a clinic. Did you read about that?
Not yet.
He opened a clinic and applied the very concepts that he was describing in all of his talks.
So now, basically he's showing that it's not just theory.
No, he has data to show that his
model,
Health 3.0 premise reduces ED visits and readmission rates substantially. The problem is the health insurance companies wouldn't cover their treatment. So I know. It's like health insurance companies want to keep us sick almost. It's like the system is set up to keep our asses sick because you know what pays? Treatment.
Thank Richard Nixon for that.
Health doesn't pay, but medications pay.
Yeah.
Of course we're all sick because there's no incentive to get us healthy. We just treat and treat and treat. There's no prevention. Anyway.
It's true.
I opened up a can of worms there.
But your overall message is sounding loud and clear is that the thing that you walked away from that's going to affect your practice is this like kind of this overarching model that's been laid out for you. So while you said like, oh, nothing really, but this huge thing. Well, that's a pretty huge thing. I think that I could ask the corollary to this question then is, so if it's not going to directly affect your bedside practice, which is totally reasonable because that's not what this was designed to do. But now I imagine you can say that this will positively affect your online life, your business, your entrepreneurship. Yes?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to go back a little bit. I guess I underplayed the Z-Dog thing and like, it's not going to affect my practice, but it might.
No, I wasn't saying you were underplaying it. I was saying that it was hilarious because at first you were like, no, not at all. And then you were like, except this. And I think you did explain the magnitude of it, but I just thought it was funny that you were like, not really at all, except for this massive thing that changes my paradigm.
I've had those opinions about our healthcare system for a long time. It's just that I've happened to come across Z-Dog within the last few months and how he's this major influencer that is promoting this very thing that I think a lot of us healthcare professionals feel. but he's putting labels on it. He's put it into practice. The system as a whole is very against that because of the way it's designed. It's kind of like the car industry doesn't want to change because it's designed to take oil. It's not designed to take in water or false or alternative fuels. It's not, etc. So I what I think is going to happen is I'm going to keep kind of seeking out this type of information of, what can we do to improve our system on an individual level and as a whole, because maybe someday I could have a voice in some of that change. And I can tell you that the other side is I don't ever want to be in management. I don't want to be in administration. I don't want to be in any of that bullshit because, yes, exactly. These people, fuck. These people, I'll give you an example. Oh, fuck. These people know that patient ratios, there's been hundreds of research articles that say patient ratios, the better they are, the better patient outcomes are, the better reimbursement are, yet they completely ignore it. It's like, well, if it's not mandated, then I guess we don't have to do it. Those are the type of people that I cannot stand being around. It's like you've sold your soul to the devil. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things, it's actually interesting that the conversation goes this way. In my class topic, we had a discussion board that we were just talking about this very thing. And it's like the people that are making these ratios are not the people that are spending time on the units. They're not spending time at the bedside. And so I kind of described the way the U does, like, they have the supervisor go around to all the units. While it's not a perfect system, they're laying eyes on the unit. Nurses are going to bed huddles. So there is some communication between not necessarily the administrators, but the upper management within the nursing department. The problem is, and I said this in the discussion board, I wish we had bed huddles with administrators where we could actually have the people that are writing the rules and say to them, yeah, I know it is. I know it always is. In everything, you follow the money to find the source. Like, I get that. But what you're saying is true. It's like this conundrum that we're in where it's like, if we had more nurses, we'd have better outcomes. But they feel like, I don't know, all the bullshit reasons they give us why that's not possible. It's like, as nurses, we still try to find a way to make our patients better. And so it's like, for example, if I, as a nursing assistant, if I found out that I was going to be the only nursing assistant when there should have been two, in my head, I personally was not someone that was like, well, fuck it, then half the work ain't getting done. I was someone that was like, fuck, I got to work twice as hard now. And I think nurses pick up that slack in a lot of ways, so much so that maybe administrators don't see it. They're like, well, you say that you're not able to do this, but really your fall rates are improved and your CLABSI rates are improved and, you're doing great. And it's like, yeah, but do you see what it's doing to us to keep up? We're running twice as fast. Yes, we're keeping up, but at what cost?
It's a cost in... Well, it leads to burnout. It leads to burnout and it leads to poor patient outcomes.
Right. Or it leads to nurses in the ER getting fucking saline drips because they push themselves to an expectation instead of you working in a culture where you could say, no, really, I'm not abusing the system. I really am sick. But instead, you had to come in and put yourself through so much shit that it made you so sick you needed emergency care. So that's the system. That's why I wish we could say, in a perfect world where solutions are easy, that we could say to administrators, come stand alongside us and see the abuse that we're putting ourselves through. I know that that's a very idealistic, unrealistic way of, wishing for resolution. But, it's like how many of those people would have been quick to sign your name on a shit list for signing off, yet you're standing at a bedside in a mask, potentially not thinking clearly, taking care of patients that are, compromised, and here you are supposed to be large in charge and healthy and taking care of them. Like, what position does that leave you in?
It means I'm fucked, Adrianne.
Right. But if you had called in sick a day after getting off a plane from Vegas, they would have been like, fucker's trying to extend his vacation.
For sure. I mean,
they'll trust you. They'll trust you with pushing vasopressors into someone's veins, but they won't trust you to know whether or not you're legit to call in sick.
So I'm gonna put that on a back burner.
Our 78 back burners.
Right. Yeah. Are we keeping track of any of this?
Yeah, I actually.
Do you take notes as you edit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So good. I'm glad, because we have this as we talk. It's like, ooh, that could be a good topic. Let's do that.
The problem is I edit in a different place in my house almost every time. So there's like 5 little notepads all over the apartment that have random fucking notes on them.
I've been trying to leave my phone at home. So I've been taking these little notepads at work. And it's like, I've got all these ideas. I'm like, I'm freaking crazy sometimes. Look at this. Yep. That's sweet. So you asked me about how the conference is going to affect my online presence, essentially.
Yes.
There was some really cool shit that was happening, Adrianne. So I told Sarah before we left, I'm like, I think it might be possible that I might get recognized at the conference because I'm out there so much. My YouTube videos, on the Facebook groups, I do a lot of funny memes. I share my snaps on the Facebook groups. Some of them get like 700-800 likes. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a group of 60,000 nurses. So that's not a lot of likes compared to the number of people. But
compared to yours truly's likes, you're blowing me out of the water, and I'm glad.
I mean, fair enough. But the thing is it gets a lot of exposure. And there was a point where I was posting probably like every other day, maybe sometimes multiple times a day. I stopped because I got some shit from a troll online, but that's beside the point. But
we should talk about that. I know what you're talking about. We should talk about that too. Keep going.
We should. I'm going to just briefly say that person's insulting comments was actually beneficial because 2 reasons. One, I realized I was posting too much on the group. I was using it too much and not adding value as much as I could. Like different types of value. Like, yes, humor is valuable, but also like other types of value. I was being a little too self-promotional in that aspect. So I got that. Like I was doing it too frequently. Number 2 is that person's comments lit a fire on my ass, and I started my own group that I can adjust the culture the way I see as a positive change to the community. So because the big group that I constantly post in is very negative, that's beside the point. The point is so there is some benefit if you can figure out a way to get it out of a bad situation. And that's what happened there. So I told Sarah, I'm like, hey, there's a possibility that some people might recognize me. Adrianne, I was on the Las Vegas Strip walking, and this chick comes up to me over my shoulder, and she looks at me and she's like, I know you. And I'm like, what do you mean you know me? And she was wasted. She's like, yeah, you're that guy on YouTube. I was like, what? Crazy. This is what's going on in my mind. This is actually like day 3. But that just shows, like, middle of the Strip, about a half a mile from the hotel where the hub of the conference was. Mm-hmm. Some random girl comes up to me and she's like, I know you. Crazy. So I told my best friend and Sarah, I said, don't allow me to, because you can allow this notoriety to get to your mind like, oh yeah, I'm hot shit. Mm-hmm. Hey, I told them, don't ever let me become a douchebag. But I think there's a part of all of us that we're like, ooh, I love it. Give me some more. It's like a drug almost, notoriety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't ever let me become a douchebag. I say it every time I talk to my buddy, because every time I talk to him, because he lives in a different state, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm growing every time I talk to him. It's like more opportunities are arising. So I just remind him, because he's kind of like my go-to for personal advice, and he's been there for me. I walk into the conference. The first person that recognized me is the founder of the conference.
Dang.
I was like, woo, it's legit. So, and it just kept happening over and over and over again. So the first person that recognized me was Phil Light, the founder of the conference. And we had a great conversation and we did videos. We corresponded through email. So it's pretty neat that he recognized me. And I just, when I first approached the conference, I just wanted to just take it all in. So I knew I just wanted to just kind of stroll around, not really talk to too many people. But that changed really quickly. Honestly, Adrianne, I was probably stopped maybe like 50 times of people that just like, it ranged from, I know your face, I don't know where from, but I know you, to, oh my God, you're the guy from YouTube. And I'm like, yes, that's it. And just Andrew. Just Andrew. I'm just Andrew. How are you? So, you and I, we're doing something special. We're improving the lives of our colleagues and people out there by sharing our experiences with the world through the podcast, through my YouTube channel, through the MRC YouTube channel, all social media. We are making a difference. And I guess the people that came up to me validated that. Some people were like, your snaps make my shifts tolerable.
Yeah, like we only have one comment on YouTube. Come on, guys, we need some comments. But the one person that said, or that commented said, finally, something to get me through those long night shifts. Keep them coming. And so I'm someone that if I'm charting and it's, not a crazy night, I will put one of my wireless earbuds in while I chart. I can pop it out if I have to go into a room. But honestly, I get to sit and listen to snippets of things here and there. And I would listen to our show. And I'm not saying that to be a douchebag either. Like, if it was just a bunch of nurses sitting around talking, like, those are the things that I listen to.
Yep.
But I think we're approaching it from a little bit of a different angle. Anyway, I don't want to get too self-righteous and tooting our horn. If people like what we're doing, they like it. I really enjoy it. And I think it's cool that people are recognizing you for what you're doing, because it means that they are getting value from it. I think of the other nurses that I've watched on YouTube over the years, and the shit that's directly influenced the way I think about things or the way I do things or the way I learn. Like, those are big deals to me. So if I were to go to a conference and see some of these nurses, I would have to control myself from fangirling a lot. Not because there's like an element of celebrity, but because it's like, oh my God, I saw your video 4 years ago, and I credit my success in nursing school, like a quarter of it, to just watching your video. And there are a few videos that I can actually say that about, where I'm like, that video fucking revolutionized the way I learned. And so if I were to see these people, it's not so much like, oh my God, you're famous, I've seen you on TV. It's like, oh my God, I think about that thing that you taught me 36 hours a week for the last 14 months. Like, those are the kinds of things that I feel.
Yep.
So,
I started doing this for one reason, and that is to simply help people.
Imagine a nurse wanting to help.
Right. It's so simple. And that's the reason why I became a nurse. It's so cliche, right? But we all get a sense of gratification from that connection we have with our patients, our family members, and the heaviness of our job. Mm-hmm. Not so much from the patients, but the other stuff. Mm-hmm. Kind of
the behind the scenes stuff.
The reason why we do things. It takes away from that love we have for people. And I remember when I started volunteering in an emergency department before I was even a nursing student. And I remember that excitement that, wow, I'm doing it. I'm really doing it. And when these people approached me, complete random strangers, and said, you know what? You're making my shifts better. You're making a difference. You know, when they talked about our podcast, you know, like, wow, how awesome is that? And it validated that we're on the right track. Mm-hmm. Even if we're not getting the likes and comments that we like to see, because I'd love to get more likes and comments. Trust me. But know that we've got 300 hours of listening time on this. That's 300 hours.
How many days is that? Hold on, I need to do that math real quick. I can't do it.
And that's just on one outlet.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably double that
the
out there.
That's like 12 and a half days. That would be like if people were sitting in a room listening to our shit for 12 and a half days.
Yes. So
that's pretty cool.
It is very cool. And we're doing something very special for the world. And when you come at it with just you wanting to help people just gravitate towards that. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I know you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So how is it going to affect my channel? I think I'm going to do the exact same thing that I've been doing, because I know it's working. It's helping people. I know that I've made more connections in the industry, and it is honestly possible that I could do YouTube/podcasting full time. Like maybe next year, do like nursing part time.
Yeah.
Because it's a path that I have to look into. Huh? Take me with you. Yeah.
No, I mean the thing is, I have more ideas than I have time, and part of that, I know you're in school as well, but I am too, and I don't know. I feel like I'm at a point where I haven't gained my focus yet. Like, I feel like I want to do all these things, and I need to find out what of those things I'm best at. Like, I've got a personal blog. I'm on all the social media. I have the Medroom Chronicles blog. I have all the Medroom Chronicles social media. Like, I need to draw in my focus. And until then, I have about 100,000 videos I want to make. And the thing is that because I'm a really kind of overly thoughtful person about myself, I'm very critical of myself. I always have been. But, like, I'll record the same video like 5 times. And each time I'll try to make it perfect. And then finally I'll just be like, fuck it. And I'll just sit down one morning after I've gotten off work, and I'll do the same thing, unscripted, one take. And it's better than the 5 other, like, pre-planned videos that I tried to do. So, yeah. But I have such insecurity that it stops me from just turning on the microphone myself and, like, telling a bunch of stories. I can talk for days on end, but I don't necessarily believe that anyone wants to listen to it without another party involved. Oh, my God. So maybe I'll give it a shot and see how people feel. I've done a couple little, like, quickie videos, like, yeah. So I think it's interesting to hear you say, you know, that you've got plans. You want to do this full time. I still am having very much a hobbyist fun time with it. I want to get to a point where I can do it seriously, but I also feel like such a novice that I'm having a hard time taking myself seriously, you know?
I got you.
Like, I'm very dedicated to this, and I've spent, I don't even want to tell you guys how many hours focused on learning how to edit, how to market and whatnot. But really, the truth of the matter is I just need to turn the camera on more and just do it.
So there's a YouTuber that I follow. Have you heard of Casey Neistat?
Yes, actually, I have.
I mean,
and I watch him as well.
8 million subs. I
mean,
he's
as someone who was I very much consider myself a photographer, even though I don't do it professionally. I did it as a hobby. I did a lot of stuff. I did it with shit equipment, and I think I did a decent job of it, at least documenting some of these experiences that I had in my community. So I do consider myself a photographer, and I think I have that artful eye, and I want to bring that to the videos that I'm making. And I think he does a really good job of that, of catching the way that NPR catches a story. Like, you can hear it, you can smell it, you're hearing him talk about it, you're like there in the experience. I want to teach nurses in that way. Like, I want to tell such a vivid story that the nurse remembers it when they're in practice and they say, oh yeah, I heard that nurse talk about that thing. Here's how she handled it. Here's how I'm going to handle it.
I remember he's done hundreds of videos. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. One thing that stuck with me that he said, he interviewed another YouTuber that's bigger than him. I can't remember who it was. And he asked him for the number one piece of advice that he'd give to people that are aspiring YouTubers, aspiring vloggers. Do you know what it is?
Just do it. I don't know what.
Keep recording.
Yeah.
Just keep recording. That's it. So simple. And so I look at my videos and I'm like, oh God, I really screwed up there. I jump cut that too quickly. Why did I do it like that? Why did I release it? There's no way someone would pay me for that. How the hell is that possible that it's even, happening? But I'm just going to keep doing it. And the kinks will work themselves out. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. I know my shit isn't going to be perfect, but it's not about the technology or the sexy editing. It's about you being you and you offering the world.
Which is all it
can be. Yeah, and you have a very unique and awesome voice that I think people want to hear. Because I want to hear it. I'm listening to you. It's been 2 hours now.
Hey.
Hey. And
yeah, it's just, it's the same as a nurse. As when I first started practicing as a nurse, I was nervous about laying down the law for patients who needed someone to lay down the law and say, like, you need to do this if you whatever. I'm not going to get into a fake dialogue here. But the point I'm trying to make is it took me some time. I feel like I'm a more confident nurse than I was when I started. And now I feel like as an educator, I need to grow. On one hand, I don't feel like there's a part of me that's like, you're not an authority on shit. But at the same time, I've worked in a hospital for over a decade. You can't tell me that I didn't glean some shit here and there. But also as a nurse, there are things that, like with anything, whether it be a sport or cooking or whatever, some things you're just naturally good at. And so some nurses are really good at, you've got your nurse who's great at blood draws. You've got your nurse that's great at taking the trauma patient and making them look like they're in one piece again. I'm the type of nurse that's good at taking the person who's agitated and scared and kind of smoothing that out. So we all have these roles that we fill within nursing, things that we're just naturally good at. And I think that those are the things we need to talk about. I'm not an expert at talking about the technical aspects of nursing, but I can tell you how I've made patients feel better, how I've made my coworkers get along better, so I'm trying to focus on the things that I'm good at. But it's hard to recognize what your strengths are when you're so new to the game. You've been in the game a few years, so you can be like, my strengths in nursing are A, B, C, and D, where I only have A and B,
I see what you're saying.
So for me, I know there are things I'm good at, and I know that I have wisdom and value to impart to people. But at the same time, it's like, how do I zoom in on those things that I'm good at, because I want to talk about everything.
Yeah, I will say, though, that the perspective of being a noob, essentially, is a valuable perspective because there are so many new nurses out there that want to connect to other new nurses. there's YouTubers that are new nurses that share their experience, like whatever that is, about conflict, about encountering a difficult patient situation. So you may, just because you don't have 7 skills that you're good at because you haven't been doing it a long time, just like you said, you've still been in the hospital for 10 years. Mm-hmm. You've been in the hospital double the time that you have, double the experience that I have in healthcare. I've only, and you could say that you have even more experience, valuable experience than I have, even though, I've been in acute care and I've travel nursed. I'm just saying that I think you have more experience and knowledge and wisdom than you are giving yourself credit for.
Yeah, and so that's part of the struggle, is like recognizing where I'm in and also having the humility and the boundaries to know where my expertise ends. And I think that one of the things that makes me best suited to be a nurse is the fact that as nurses, our learning never stops. Like, we're always having to learn the next best, deeper, better, more evidence-based. Like, we're constantly growing, learning, educating ourselves, constantly involved in services and comps and all the shit that we have to do to maintain our skills and our relevancy in the industry. So I think that as we go through more and more of that, we develop. What am I saying? I'm rambling. Basically, like, as we develop these skills, I think it's important to know where our limitations are, as well as what our exceptional skills are. So, like, that person, you didn't mention it before, but like that troll that was calling you out, if I can say so, like, basically was saying that, like, you don't have enough experience to be an authority.
Oh.
However, is that what you're thinking of?
There's no, that's the other one. Yeah.
But I guess what I want to say to that is, It's like with me. Yeah, you asked me how long I've been a nurse, and I'll tell you I've been a nurse for 14 months. You can end your conversation there and dismiss me for everything. But I'll tell you what, like, I can walk into a situation where a patient has ripped out their NG, they're Foley, they're bleeding, they're scared, they're half out of bed, and I can walk into that situation and not be like, oh my God, what the fuck do I do this patient? I can walk in and be like, okay, get the patient back to safe, do this, clamp this off, turn this off, shut this off, get the nurse, like, I can walk into that situation and make sense of it and know what to do without panicking. There are some nurses that have been nurses for years that would walk into that situation and would be like, get the CNA,
I think you answered your own question. The fact that you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that you're comfortably saying that you can walk into an emergency situation and be like, I'm not going to freak out, tells me that you have the wisdom and skill set that you seem to say that you don't, but you do.
It's more an insecurity that other people your troll. It's more an insecurity that somebody on YouTube is going to say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Fuck those people.
Yeah.
We could edit that. Fuck those people.
No, we don't.
Screw those people. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be trolls. When you put yourself out there, I found that being 100% vulnerable and transparent and honest doesn't give people ammunition, because what else is there if you aren't but that? And that's what I've been doing with my videos. That's how I treat people online. I'm just like, this is how it is for me.
I mean, I'm as dorky and as genuine as they come. I kind of, I wear my heart on my sleeve, very much so.
Right.
So
yes, I think that is the long answer, that you and I are on to something, and we're going to keep going here. And when you're a professional podcaster 6 months from now, I'm going to be like, I told you so, Adrianne. I told you just got to believe. Eye of the tiger.
Now that you're home from the conference and you have these people that you've met and these connections that you've made, what's the best plan for nurturing those relationships so that they can become lucrative is not the right word, so that they become the beneficial connections that you want them to be? Like, how do you nurture these relationships, essentially?
That's a tough one, because I'm still learning that myself. maintaining relationships at a distance online is challenging.
Of course.
I think it depends on the type of relationship that we're talking about. If it's on an individual level, I think I encourage people to connect with me on my social media account so that we can have a conversation there. I always tell people, you can email me directly. On the other note, I had a comment on my YouTube channel recently about a husband inquiring about information about traveling for his wife. He must be more techie than his wife or something. And I'm like, hey, just have her email me. Or I stuck my number in the comments. I'm like, you know what?
Just call.
Just call me anytime. I'm available anytime. And I think that's the type of thing that, people are looking for is, access to help. That's why they seek out information.
Right. And a non-threatening help, like someone that is like just in it because at one point they wished someone would have done it for them,
Exactly. And what I found is I feel like I'll have to change my number someday because I get contacted a lot. But I love it. It's cool. Is that a train?
Yeah, my windows are open.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the hell is that noise? Gotcha.
Yep, it's coming around the bend.
As far as the business relationships, also, that's a new world for me. And when you start to tell people that you're valuable, it feels weird. For me, I'm still learning about how to tell people that I'm valuable because I see the value in what I'm doing. On their end, on like a travel nurse agency end, they see a guy that's connected to a community that they want to tap into, and they want to use my platform to get their message out there, and that is valuable. To attach a price tag on that, how does a person do that? I'm still learning that myself, and I've made mistakes already. I'm continue learning. Describing yourself as valuable is weird if you've never done it before. Selling yourself is very weird if you've never done it. But as far as nurturing that relationship, that business relationship, I think having a very open conversation about each person's expectations and desires and outcomes early on is important. I'll give you an example. I am on the side talking to a company that wants to hire me to do some services for them. And right now, it's been very challenging to communicate with them. They're not getting back to me. And professionally, that annoys the shit out of me because I sacrifice a lot of time doing this internet thing.
Mm-hmm.
I work a full-time job. I basically work a full-time job online, and I sacrifice a lot of time from Sarah.
Yeah.
And so when a company dicks around, essentially, it is frustrating to me. So I wrote this really frank email, and then I'm like, okay, Andrew, whoa. Just
dial it back a little bit.
Back it up, because I can get a little impulsive sometimes.
Same.
And I reeled it in, and I said, because the first email, the first iteration was like, hey, listen, I don't have time for this, essentially. This lack of communication feels to me like my time is not a priority to you. And if it's not a priority to you, maybe we can reevaluate later. Maybe you guys are too busy for me right now, and that's cool. That's totally cool. I just need to know so I don't keep wasting my time.
Yeah. Which
is a reasonable thing. I'm going to give them one more chance to give me information about what's going on. I said, let's talk next week. And basically that's it, as opposed to all the other shit I said. Because I don't want to burn bridges.
Right.
It wouldn't have burned a bridge. It just would have made things a little weird.
Harder to get through that door, potentially. So
at the same time, on an individual level, our time is the only thing we have.
Yeah.
The most valuable thing we have. And if a good relationship respects that, and if I call and email and I hear nothing, I'm going to give you a couple chances because I understand that I don't know what's going on across the country. Right. But we are in an age where I can get my email, phone calls, text, Morse code, flamingos flying a baby ordered right from this phone. Okay. there's really there's zero excuses
Right.
for lack of communication.
I agree.
So, it's all that age-old communication is most important, and it's true. So I'm still learning this dynamic of relationships. I respect people's time, and I expect it on my end too. So it's exciting. It's exciting to get into this new world of entrepreneurship as a nurse, because every nurse has the potential to use their clinical knowledge and because we sell our patients. You better believe we sell our patients on taking their meds, on educating our patients. We have clinical intuition. We have lots of background information and knowledge about pathophys and all this other A&P stuff. So that all that knowledge can be packaged into something valuable that a nurse could use to sell, to create, to give, aside from just the standard box of bedside nursing.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to build online. And I think the conference validated that I'm on the right track and that I'm going to continue moving forward. I'm just not sure what the destination is right now, because it seems to change like every other week because of opportunities.
Well, that's okay. I mean, better to have too many opportunities than not enough.
Right.
Because you never know how these, you didn't see this coming a few weeks ago. So that's one thing that I've said to people. I've especially said to people who are considering nursing, or family members who ask me why I chose nursing. And the thing that I love to tell people is the job that I am destined to do might not even exist yet. Like, we look at, for example, nurse informatics. If you would have said to people in the 1970s, like, I'm studying informatics, they would have been like, what the fuck is that? These are things that are only as old as we are, or, even younger, or, the new changes that'll come that we can't even predict yet. So I think that it's true. I think that you can take whatever it is that you've learned at the bedside and you can repackage it in a way that's interesting and a new, fresh perspective, I think.
Yep. And valuable. Nurses are not good at giving themselves credit where credit is due. Okay. It's not just you. Nurses, it's because we're not taught to do that. We're taught to serve others. We're not taught to serve our own self-interest, because deep down, we're not like that. We're not in the business aspect of healthcare. We're in the caring aspects of healthcare.
And there's some level of self-sacrifice that accompanies that.
So much. So you're right there. I just want to reiterate to anyone that's listening out there, if you've ever had the inkling of doing something beyond the traditional roles of nursing, we're in a fantastic time in history where we have technology at our disposal. Even if you just have a simple cell phone and a cheapy tripod from Amazon and a basic computer, you can do whatever you want. And a microphone. Hell, you don't even have to have a fancy microphone. So I encourage people to seek out opportunity, seek out change for themselves if you aren't satisfied with your current state of affairs, because that's what is one of the reasons why I started doing what I've been doing. Is I knew something was out there for me, I just didn't know what, and that's what really prompted me to get into videos. And so that is a very long, convoluted explanation of the Travelers Conference. Well, this has been 7 hours, 3 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get Steven Spielberg to produce this.
Right?
We're going to add in some explosions and fart noises at the end.
Exactly. I think this was a fantastic reunion episode. We haven't talked in weeks.
I know, it's been ridiculous. We went from making episode after episode to everybody being on vacation but me.
You need a vacation is what you need.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, it's been fantastic talking with you, Adrianne.
Agreed, good sir.
And we will talk probably next week, I suspect.
Yeah, let's do that, because we got so much more to talk about.
Hey, so I will talk with you later, and you have a good night.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, thanks for enduring another long episode of Medroom Chronicles, and we'll catch you guys next time. Happy nursing, folks.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye.
Here at MedRoom Chronicles, we may be uncensored, but we are not unfiltered. Protected health information has been changed and concealed to comply with HIPAA of 1996. The things we talk about are combinations of years of experience with thousands of patients, things we've read, stories we've heard. If you think we're talking about you, trust me, we're not. Also, we're real nurses here to provide accurate and helpful info, but don't take us as fact without doing your own research. Refer to your state's Board of Nursing, Practice Acts, and your institution's policies and procedures if you have questions about your practice. Lastly, our very strong opinions are ours alone and do not reflect those of our employers or educational institutions. Thanks for listening, and happy nursing, guys.